He writes columns for the Philippine Star and the host of One News Channel's Titans on Signal TV. Attorney Michael Toledo.
Thank you very much, Micah. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat, saka sa lahat ng nakikinig sa atin. A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Let me take this opportunity to briefly again thank Phoenix, the Makati Business Club, the Management Association of the Philippines, and of course, Election 22 Coalition. Definitely, this topic, now more than ever, is very timely, very relevant, very apropos. Ang kailangan talaga po natin ngayon, gaya ng na-mention ng ating very eloquent speakers, is really an enlightened citizenry, enlightened participation, informative conscience to be able to vote wisely and properly. But to be able to vote, one has to register first. Kaya importante, kagaya ng sinabi ng lahat, galing na rin kay former commissioner, is that you must register. Because if you do not, you lose your privilege, you lose your right enshrined in the Constitution, enshrined in the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and even in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Nakalaad po yan, hindi lang po sa ating konstitusyon, sa saligang batas, but in all these international laws. Na-mention nga kanina na ito ay isang power, lakas, kaya dapat natin po itong gamitin. The title that was chosen by the organizers is quite apropos and timely, very simple and yet very strong. Why should I vote? It is indeed a right that must be exercised. The right of suffrage must not be taken for granted. And it gives me great pleasure to be moderating this open forum because upon hearing all the distinguished young speakers, I've realized na may pag-asa talaga ang bayan natin. After hearing each of them talk and explain, coming from the heart, of what is at stake, what is needed, and what must be done. Tama po ang sinabi ni Sir Rizal. Talaga ang future natin ay nasa kabataan. So, I would like to perhaps congratulate all our panelists, and with your indulgence, let's give them a warm round of applause, even if we don't get to hear you. Bravo, bravo, bravo. So, in this open forum, we will be inviting later on the students who have been listening throughout, and I'm sure they have been inspired about what they've heard from our distinguished panelists and distinguished speakers. But let me, being the host, I have what you call a right of first refusal. I practice that as a lawyer from time to time, so I'll be given the opportunity to ask this question to all our distinguished speakers. Janina, Chris, Ria, Eliza, of course. Chris and Eliza I know very well because they've been playing with the teams of the MVP group. Nice to see you guys. And Ria, apparently my daughter was her classmate in Saints Co. So that's clearly it shows that Saints Co also produces a lot of good people. Anyway, before anything else, let me just ask this question to all of you, and whoever wants to answer this question can feel free to do so, or if you want, if somebody answers and you want to add, then please do so. You've been talking about, okay, getting involved, knowing all the issues, using the right of suffrage as a power, not to be indifferent, and to be part of change. Very good. But what if you yourself would consider a political career to change things within the system and not on the outside? You bring your zeal, your enthusiasm, your intelligence, your integrity and honesty into the public sphere. Did you ever consider that? And would you ever consider that? Anyone can answer, please. Lovely smiles. That would be very good in posters.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Who would like to start?
Okay, sige, Mina lang po. Okay.
Okay, please.
You know, sir, attorney, if anything, this is something that my dad always tries to remind me, that we are not only of age to vote, but also of age to hold position. The only thing is kasi I feel like it's a little bit different if you're already there, I feel like it makes you have a little bit more of conflict of interest, if anything, when you're there to be talking and be advocating about it. I don't know. It's like, it's just not for me. I'd rather just be like on the lookout. I'm not one for like that. Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely something I'm sure Eliza, Sir Chris, I'm sure they also have had offers to actually run and all of that. But it's, I guess it's like a personal preference at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll follow
Perhaps
naman
Eliza?
rin. Yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree with Ria, attorney. I think it's really personal. But as of the moment, I think as an athlete also, I can, I siguro mas nakakatulong ako ngayon in terms of inspiring other people, and in those little ways, I hope I can help also our country kahit po papaano. And I think I'm actually for now okay with that. But in the future, we don't know naman din po talaga. But as of now, I'm really contented. I'm happy with what my position right now then po in the sports industry. So that's it, attorney. Thank you for that wonderful question.
Thank you, Eliza. And Tumina?
Actually, po, I am, well, I'm honestly taking up political science right now in college. I'm in my second year.
That's good.
And it is a constant conversation, and I always get comments talking or asking me to run one day. But I do see myself in public service in the future. However, I do want to put a caveat to that and say, when people see me online, they always believe that, I don't know, they see something special, they see something that's very, very, something that not, I don't know, something that's put on a pedestal, I think, about me. And I want to counter that and say that I actually don't believe that there's, how do you say this? I feel like the things that you see in all of these speakers, what you see in me, love for the nation, compassion, and service, these are not only things that you see in political leaders. As Eliza said, this is something that she is embodying even as a volleyball player, inspiring and empowering other people. And Aderia as an actress, and I think for me as a vlogger right now, although I am in political science, to learn, because I learned at a young age that politics is a game that leaders play. And I decided that I wanted to learn the game, the rules, so that people can win one day. And I feel like that's not exclusive to only political leaders, but I believe that that's the heart supposed to be of every single Filipino.
Well said. You already sounded like a politician to me.
I was gonna say that.
But at the end of the day, believe you me, you have to be able to communicate your programs, platforms. And the only way to do that really is to communicate effectively in whatever way you can. And I have to admit, a couple of politicians are good at that. That's why they get elected. But then again, what is important is not so much how you deliver what is but the substance, and even more importantly, what you promise to do, the programs you do, you actually execute. That's the difference perhaps between, if I may digress a bit, between John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy gave his presidential speech when he won the presidency in the 60s, he didn't promise anything. He didn't promise anything. He delivered. He just said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Very powerful message. Okay, now we go to you, Chris.
Me, I was actually a public servant for 17 years in the barangay as an SK chairperson, and then a three-termer barangay kagawad. So, I agree that it's a great platform to serve and to help the community, and in the national level more so for the whole country. Although personally, I don't think I'm cut out for politics. I'd rather help in the private sector, at least at this point. Just like what your group has been doing, Attorney Mike. And there's a lot of, I mean, you guys are in the private sector, but the service that you provide to our people is also very relevant. No, so I guess that's my short answer.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you so much to everyone. Will it be entertaining questions from our thousands of students waiting to ask the question? But before I read some of the questions and rather recognize them, let me just leave this word, but perhaps for you to ponder, because at the end of the day, if 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 we are allowing ourselves to be limited to certain choices, then to a certain extent, that is our fault. If these are the people that you have no choice but to vote for, and you do not allow our people, the electorate, a wider range of choices, perhaps you can consider that to a certain extent, that is also our fault. Something to ponder. Anyway, maybe perhaps another forum on that. So now we would like to entertain some questions from our students who have been mukhang nananalo na sila ng mga raffle. Wala bang raffle winner sa moderator or sa mga panelists? Dapat meron naman siguro. No? Pero ayaw mo na. Sa mga estudyante na muna sa ngayon. Dribbling load yata. No? So from the secretariat, please, who can we recognize to ask the first question from the students? Oh, there. Kindly introduce yourself and ask the question to any one of the panelists.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I am John Paul Liban from University of St. Louis, Tuguegarao. I have po 2 questions from any of the panelists po who can answer po.
Thank you.
I have
Please.
The first question po is, what is the importance of the youth in this upcoming election? And the second question is, what should the first-time voters, just like me po, look for in a public official? Yun lang po.
Ladies, go ahead.
He's such a gentleman.
Yeah, you guys kind of touched on it already in your talk, so you might wanna elaborate more.
I actually shared this in part 1, which I have 4 C's that I always try to follow whenever I, choose somebody to support or campaign for or vote for. And the first one is character, because I believe that, character, I think no education, no credentials can mask or fake character, because that's something that comes from the heart. Number 2 is competence. Sayang naman po yung character kung walang competence. What are the projects he or she has started? Natapos po ba? What was the response of the people? Did it actually help, or was it a mask for corruption? Smile lang. Number 3, compassion for the nation. And I say this because although dapat obvious na to, I realize that yung compassion for the nation has been downsized to compassion for whatever province the candidate came from, where I believe that compassion for the nation means all dialects, all social classes, all provinces, all cities, regardless of whether they voted for that person or not. Compassion pa rin, ready to serve that person, even if they're from the opposition or not. And lastly is communication. Does this person communicate unity or division? Is this person able to, this person has projects, but is he or she able to rally people towards that goal so that we can all accomplish it together and collectively? So those are my 4 C's. So there's character, competence, compassion, and communication.
To build on what Janina said, siguro, why should the youth vote? Like she said, among the 73 million people eligible to vote, we are 40 million from ages 18 to 39. That on its own, I think, is already a statement enough as to why we should vote. Apart from that, also to build on what Janina said earlier, I'm all for character, competence, compassion, and communication. Tama ba? Okay, yes. But apart from that, I am also for humility. We need leaders who are willing to admit whether they are wrong, whether they need help. leaders who are also decisive and judicious in the sense that they would really take everything into consideration, not just what is available to them. But yeah, more than that, I think if you're a first-time voter, really research on our candidates, check their stance and issues, their track record, as they will be our voice. There, we have to make sure that we vote for people who are likely to vote for things that we believe are valuable. You look at their stance on, like, for instance, when the last time I voted, I think for president was when RH bill was such a heated discussion. No, that was like a basis for a lot of people, if it's yes or if it's no. But yeah, basically stands and issues and track record.
Wow, Ria and Janina. But I would have to say, as I've learned in Ateneo also, our leaders have to be matches. They have to do more than what they're expected to do also. And they have to be men and women for others, of course. So that's for me. How about you, Kuya Chris?
Nah, you guys said it all. Nothing else to say. Attorney
Well
Mike,
said.
go
Well
ahead.
said. Well said. Thank you again. I think we still have more questions from the from our students. Again, maraming salamat po sa ating mga estudyante na sumama at lumuhod dito sa ating programa. No? Thank you very much. That shows you that they are really very interested, and that's good. So, another question, please.
Good afternoon to our dear panelists, Finex Philippines, Management Association of Philippines, and Makati Business Club, Election Coalition 22, and to my fellow students. I am Shaira from University of Santo Tomas and USTJ Finex, and I have two questions for the panelists today. The first one is for those who can't register or those who are not eligible to become a voter yet because of the age limit or restrictions that limits them to vote. What can be their possible contributions as to becoming proactive in change during the elections?
Sige, I'll do this first since I didn't answer the last one. I think one of you, maybe Ria or was it Janina who mentioned it in their talk. No, I think one way is to really be interested and get involved in discussing social issues, issues that are relevant and important, today and in the future. And I think just within your family and friends and community, just to show that you care and you're concerned and that you're living a life of where you're being a light to others in a way and living out goodness. I think that's already a good start. It gives people a lot of hope, like what I said, that there's our young ones care and they're good people, and like me being a bit older than the ladies here and you guys, I think to hearing your words and to see a lot of the students here participating shows that there's a bright future for the Philippines, and me as a father now, and I'm quite hopeful that my kids are gonna have a good future here. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Chris. Ria, you gonna say something?
I
you were
think
just
Sir
raising it.
Chris
Okay.
perfectly said everything
Yeah.
already. I was just, yes, I feel like,
Okay.
yeah, Janina,
Okay.
go.
Janina, go.
I think if you were a youth who is not eligible yet to vote, I urge you not to look down on what you have right now in your hands. If that's your education, if that's being a good daughter or son, if that's throwing the trash where you need to. These things are still the building blocks of our nation. Yes, for example, for our economy, yes, it is the government who decides the systems and the rules and regulations we follow. But who is actually working in our economy? It's still the Filipinos, right? Or who is teaching the current leaders of our nation? It is our teachers. So if you are studying to be a teacher, work hard, do well, be excellent in those things. Because again, these are still the building blocks to a successful, to a thriving nation. It's still us. It's still us. Yes, they are at the top leading us, but we are also here building the future.
Well said. Well said. Eliza, you want to add something to that? Please.
I think one thing to add na lang, sir, is that we really have to focus on the little things. I think those little things will, when add up, will make a big impact in our country. And may it be, Janina said, as a, wala ding age limit kung paano ka magkakaroon ng difference sa community mo or sa group mo, those little things. So I guess that's it. It's the little things that really matters right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Eliza. Do we have more questions from our audience? From our
Yes,
students?
hello, good afternoon,
Please.
everyone. My name is J.R. Hapan and I am from De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, and from J. Phoenix DLSUD as well. So I have two questions po. So first one is, are there necessary steps and measures the government has taken to ensure that the national election system this upcoming 2022 is free from potential interference, especially that we are in a pandemic? What has changed? And the second question is, there are some people who are less motivated to vote this coming election. Do you have any recommendations on how to encourage those people to vote, especially to those older generations? And considering me as a first-time voter hearing that.
Very good question. Who wants to answer that first?
I think the first question, I think Attorney Louis will be the best resource person to answer that. On the second question, I need a few minutes to think about that. Tough question. Unless you ladies already have something in mind, please go ahead.
No, on the first question, I think, I mean, it's really difficult for COMELEC to be running an election under a pandemic. This is the first time that COMELEC is running elections under these circumstances. In fact, I consider myself lucky as having retired before this happened. No? Mahirap yan. So, from what I know, COMELEC is coming up with a new normal procedure to govern the process of voting in May 9, 2022. There may be new rules for campaigning also. You know, campaigns are very important because you cannot have election when people are not informed. I mean, it's not just about going to vote and register. Voters need to be informed of the issue so that they can choose well and intelligently. And so probably that question might be better asked mga COMELEC mismo. I mean, maganda yon para at least they can answer it. I cannot speculate. Sorry.
Very good point. Thank you, Commissioner Louis. Thank you very much.
Sige po, I guess I can. The silence is so loud. Okay. You know, I think that's I've in this coalition and all the talks that I've done, I've come across two groups of people. And so the first group of people are the people who kahit sino yung nakaupo sa Malacanang, walang nagbabago sa buhay nila. Because, you know, nakakapag-travel pa rin sila, nakapag-aircon pa rin sila, and all those things. And the second group of people are, you know, the people whose lolo was born and died in poverty, whose tito or whose dad was born and gave, you know, not gave birth, but, you know, and then the son also was born and expects to die in poverty. And for both of these groups of people, there is that misunderstanding that nothing can change anymore, whether it's because they don't want anything to change or because they've lost hope. And the thing is, kasi there has been that cycle. There has been that cycle again of corruption, of selfishness in the government, of all of these things that we don't like. And when there's a cycle, there's only one way to stop it. And that's to add something different. Kasi syempre, kung corruption lang and then wala tayong gagawin, we stand outside of the cycle will just keep going on. But if we stand in the middle and say, no, I am not taking this anymore. no, I'm not going to allow this to be the same fight my children will be facing or fighting. I'm not going to allow this to rule my nation anymore. Then you have to add something different. We have to do something different. We have to vote for different people. We have to campaign for different values. We have to, educate ourselves because we have not maybe before. We have to do something different. And maybe you can raise that analogy to your mom and dad as respectfully as possible, because obviously if we start disrespecting each other, that's just fire against fire. But actually go there humbly, because technically we need them. We need them to vote, because it is our future. So you can say that, and also ask them, Nai, what kind of future do you want me to have? Voting for this person, I believe, will get me that future. Is this what you want for me, for your children? Or do we want something different? Do we want something better? Do we want to finally get what we deserve? Yeah, but do that respectfully.
Well said. Well said, Janine. So unless anybody wants to...
I just want to add to
Chris?
what
Yes.
Janina mentioned. Yeah, I totally agree. And I guess as a parent, if I can see that my kids care about certain issues and about their future, and they feel strongly about it, like Janina, Eliza, and Ria, then that will really move me to vote, and to vote wisely. If you talk about, I'm sure the young ones here are very much aware and concerned about the environment, about issues like climate change, education, poverty, livelihood, and all these things. No, and I think that alone, if a parent or a lola can see that, and that there's a desire for a change and a better life, then that's a good way to, it's a good start. No, and then you can do it respectfully, as Janina mentioned. So yeah.
Thank you. Do we still have questions? We're running a bit of out of time, because actually we're supposed to be only until 4, but there has been a deluge of questions, but we will try to entertain as much as we can. We'll maybe extend it a little bit with the indulgence, of course, of our distinguished panelists, including our speaker, Commissioner Gia. But perhaps we can entertain 2 more questions, if that is okay, with the kindness and indulgence, of course, of our panelists. I can see Janina smiling so big, so that means pwede tayo extend. Okay, thanks, Ria. Thank you, Liza, and also Chris and Commissioner. So sa ating sekretariat, meron pa ba tayong mga katanungan galing sa ating mga estudyante? Habang nandito yung ating mga panelists, ready and excited and very passionate in answering your questions. Kung wala na, hindi naman ito ang huling forum, no? I'm sure magkakaroon pa ng forum, or if not, I'm sure the members of the panel wouldn't mind, correct me if I'm wrong, if some of these students would reach out to you for advice, especially in this very crucial election season that's coming quite soon. No? I'm sure you'll be willing to entertain them. So please do.
Mike.
Oh, yes?
Hi, in the Q&A chat pod, there's one question.
Please, can you read it for me?
What can you do to make sure that candidates keep their promises once they're elected?
Very good question. Who wants to start?
Okay, since I'm already unmuted,
Okay.
I will go ahead.
Okay, Rian.
Like I said earlier, in We Day with Vote, we always highlight that our efforts as advocates for voting does not end after voters registration. It also goes forward into voting and actually making sure people vote on May 9, 2022, because chances are some people won't even show up to vote. where was I going with this? But what we're saying is this advocacy that we have does not end just now. We have to remain vigilant until then. And we, as scary as things may be really to speak up, which is why a lot of influencers and celebrities refuse to speak up, because there's a lot of like issues, layers and layers that you don't want to be like judged or whatever, diba? But we have to stay vigilant and use our voices even after we vote, because that's the only way that we can hold them accountable. We call them out if we have to, and we can do it respectfully. Like Janina said, everything respectfully. Yeah, we shouldn't be afraid, because we are not alone. We are all together in this mission of making the Philippines a better place. So yeah, just make sure you remain vigilant even after, because there will be some promises that will be broken for sure. It's just a matter of making sure us talaga staying on top of things and really keeping ourselves aware, again, with verified sources. Kasi ang dami ding sources of fake news, that's another thing. That's something we also have to fight. Come on, my goodness. Okay, next. Sure. So passionate.
Thanks, Ria. Actually, yeah, there are a lot of fake news out there. That's why it's important. I wrote an article about that months ago. It's really important that there be discernment from each and everyone to be able to discern what is true and what is not, and to make your own wise decision. Anyone else who want to answer that question? Or
I think Attorney Mike and Attorney Louis, you guys would be the best persons to answer this. You have the most election experience in your years in this earth, so you would know maybe how to tell which politician or which public servant would keep their promise. Diba?
I'll allow the commissioner to answer that.
Tama ka dyan, Chris.
And the moderator.
No, my experience have been this young.
Attorney, na-meet kayo.
Yes, my experience is that these young guys give more intelligent answers than we older guys do. So talagang, this is just, I think Ria said it well. I mean, you don't stop at the elections. You monitor what they said. In fact, I know of a project by Simbahang Lingkod. It's a group in Ateneo that does, that monitors promises and continues to monitor after elections to see if the local officials have fulfilled their promises. And this is important. Kasi my metaphor earlier was that, you are hiring people who will serve you. Diba, in corporations, you do job performance assessment. Why can't we do job performance assessment? They have our job applicants in government, have a 3-year or 6 years contract in government. Would you renew their contract or would you choose someone else? Ganun lang kasimple pag tayo yung bumoboto at nag-hire ng ating mga empleyado. Tingin ko, empleyado talaga dapat sila. Tingin natin eh. Kasi, saka kung pipili ka ng waiter, dapat marunong mag-waiter. Hindi yung pipili ka ng waiter na driver yung skill niya. Same thing in government. Diba? And you evaluate them on the very basis of their performance. Did they help you? If not, you have the power to change them. That is what employers do. And we are employers of those who will apply for job in government next month in December or 2 weeks from now.
I guess, Commissioner Louis, what you're also saying is that what we need are what you call servant leaders. Sila ay leader, pero at the end of the day, sila ay nagsiservisyo para sa taong bayan na hinalal sila sa mga pwestong yon, sa iba't ibang pwesto ng gobyerno. Well said, Commissioner. Do we have time for one more question, or do we wrap this up for now? We have already extended a bit, and I don't want to test the patience of our panelists, especially Janina, who I think smiling all the time.
I'm actually so sorry, but I have a 4 p.m. So
See?
I will have to excuse myself.
I could sense. But anyway, I think that's about it. No, that's about it for now for the questions. Again, on behalf of the organizers, Phoenix, Makati Business Club, MAP, Election 22 Coalition, of course, my good friend, Commissioner Monzod, who eloquently gave also his opening message Maraming po salamat sa inyo lahat. Thank you also for having me as your moderator. Thank you to all the panelists. Alam niyo po, yung panawagan niyo, your clarion call to register, to go out and register, to go out and vote, and to vote wisely, I'm sure narinig ng ating mga estudyante at taong bayan yan. And idagdag na rin natin, at pagkatapos ng boto, kagaya nga ni sabi ni Commissioner at kagaya na sinabi ni Ria, i-monitor natin yung mga pangako kung natupad ba. So perhaps on that note, again, maraming salamat sa ating mga panelists. Thank you very much. And hope that whatever we discussed here will actually be realized in the next couple of days. So with that, I turn you over again to our MCs. Thank you so much. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat.
Yes. Thank you so much, Attorney Mike, for moderating that panel. Thank you for asking those thought-provoking questions that really made our panelists think, no? As well as all the questions that came from our students here who are attending, no? So thank you to John Paul, to Shaira, and to JR for all your questions as well. So just like in the open forum that we had, no? I think we should continue thinking, wondering,